Frank, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you?
I'm good, man. Happy to have you. Excited you were able to make it.
Good, good. It's good to be here. Sorry for the delay. I got stuck in a load of traffic.
Nah, no worries, man. We're here about 4 hours anyway, man. So obviously we wanted to talk about all the programming that you guys have. You have a pretty robust schedule there. Matchroom has, and you got a fight coming up in Cancun with Oshaki Foster and Eduardo Rocky Hernandez. What could you tell us about that card that Matchroom is putting on in Cancun?
Yeah, it's a great show. Look, our Matchroom Mexico shows have actually, I think, some of the best cards we put on. I'm not there this week. Week is the first one I've missed in a long time. But Oshaki Foster and Rocky Hernandez is a tremendous fight. Obviously, WBC mandatory. Rocky Hernandez has had a brilliant career to date, and Oshaki Foster, everyone knows how good he is. So that's an entertaining fight. You have to say Oshaki Foster's the favourite. I think Rocky Hernandez is going in there looking for a big knockout. Obviously, undercard as well. You got Tabiti against Justice Hooney as well, which is another brilliant heavyweight fight as well. So it's a great card, and then some local fighters alongside our partners, Cancun Boxing as well.
Is that the first fight under Matchroom for Hooney? Like under his official Matchroom contract?
Yeah, he was supposed to fight Andrew Tabiti a while ago. That fight was supposed to happen. I don't know. I think it was 4 or 5 months ago. On our show in June, he got injured. So his first fight with us. Look, he's 7-0, and he's stepping in there against Tabiti, who we all know, experienced, stepping up to heavyweight. I think we're in for a great fight, and like I say, respect to Hooney because at such an early stage of his career, he's taking real tests.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger than Tabiti. Tabiti's usually about 215. Hooney coming in around those two high 40s, 246, 250 sometimes. Are you expecting a knockout?
Again, look, I think you got the experience of Andrew Tabiti, who's been in there. Yeah, he is smaller, but he's been in there against some of the best. And Justice Hooney very early on in his career, but I think he's got big punching power, and I think we're in for an exciting fight there, an exciting heavyweight fight.
Now, touching back on Oshaki in the main event, there's a lot of, I guess, rumors or reports that Joe Cordina could be next for the winner. Is any truth to that?
Yeah, look, we want to
Obviously,
make.
Joe's fighting in Monaco next week, so I'm glad you guys are back doing the Monaco shows. Those were one of my favorites, so I'm happy to see you guys back in Monaco.
Yeah, no, look, it's great to be back in Monaco. Obviously, we took a break during COVID, and then the years following that. So, I think we've had a 3 or 4 year gap now. The last one was 2019, I think it was. We had 3 shows in a row there, but it's a great venue to put events on. But yeah, Joe's got his defence of his world title, as you say, next week in Monaco. And look, it's the natural fight to make, a huge unification fight at 130. The winner of Saturday, tomorrow's show in Cancun. It's a huge fight to make, and it's definitely something we're looking at now, whether that be, UK, looking at a stadium potentially in Cardiff or in the US as well. But, we have to see who comes through on Saturday night, and then Joe's obviously got to come through his fight next week.
Frank, what do you know about Pete Dobson? He had a scheduled fight with McCormack, and that obviously is no longer happening. Are you expecting to have another opportunity for Dobson? I know you guys are invested in McCormack and not Dobson, but this is the second fight that you offer him and falls out.
Yeah, look, Pete Dobson, 16-0, entertaining character. I definitely think we'll be looking at what fights are potential there, and also the potentially the opportunity to make that the rematch of the or not the rematch, but reschedule the fight between him and Pat McCormack when Pat McCormack's fit and ready. So we'll definitely be looking at opportunities there because, as I say, he's an entertaining guy. He's good for a build up as well and a great fighter.
Did you see his public I guess his public cry for Eddie to sign him?
Yeah, it got sent round. We got some group chats, between our boxing team. It got sent round in there, and we're discussing. We got a lot of shows coming up. We do almost a show every week. So all the team were talking about where's potential. I think this year is unlikely in reality, but early part of next year, I definitely think there's going to be some opportunities there.
So there's a lot of speculation when it comes to the zone and its programming. People like to throw around the term unlimited broadband. What's that mean to you? And can you explain it to the common folk?
Unlimited broadband. I can't unless I'm completely lost. I don't know what
Okay.
that unlimited broadband means to me. Means you've got unlimited internet access, but haven't we all? I'm not sure.
Well, maybe it's broad width, bandwidth. Excuse me,
Okay.
bandwidth. Uh,
And I suppose essentially looking at, on a platform being able to run multiple events, on multiple which they do across, as a global platform, they're running. I can't even tell you the number, but across all the different sports they're involved in 196 territories, they are consistently, the platform's always got multiple events going on. So I expect that's what it means, but I'm not
yes.
sure.
Yes, yes, yes. So we had one question. I think, Danny, do you remember your question? Have I triggered you about watching multiple events on the zone? Because I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Man, I don't
Okay, I'll
refresh.
try my best. So now that the zone has allowed multiple promoters to promote, sometimes we get Saturdays where we got three different shows. Um, do you know how we can handle that situation? Because
Oh,
degenerates,
oh,
go ahead, he
oh,
remembered.
yes, yes. It was, and maybe you're not the person to answer, but we need to have a way to watch events simultaneously. If Matchroom has an event going on, I may want to see, another event that the zone is airing live at the same time. It may be a smaller fight, but we're diehards, so I think that there needs to be a way to watch events on the zone simultaneously. If they're live at the same time, we should be able to watch them at the same time because they limit our what's the word? Our devices. They limit our devices, so at least let us watch it at the same time.
Yeah, look. Obviously, I don't work for DAZN, so I can't give you the exact answer. I think they're always looking at how they can improve the platform and additions they can make and changes they can make. I like that idea as well in terms of being able to watch multiple screens at once. I think when it comes to scheduling, though, and again, it's not my job from a DAZN perspective, but when we discuss across all of their or when they discuss with us across all of their promotional partners, we do try and schedule out our events so they never really clash. For the bigger events, look, they're always going to have a number of shows on, but for the bigger shows, we try and make sure it doesn't clash. So, obviously, look, a lot of our events on time zones in the UK and Europe as well. So sometimes there'll be a Golden Boy show that follows a couple of hours after. But I do like the idea as well, and something I'll bring up when we talk to them next.
Frank, the 3-year extension that you guys signed brings you to what date with the zone?
Off the top of my head, it would be when did we announce it? It would be 2026 December. I think it's either summer or winter 2026. I believe that from when that announcement was made, the 3 years.
Okay. Because obviously, with the news of Showtime, boxing fans are pretty worried, right? We have reports that ESPN may not re-up Top Rank's contract in 2025. Showtime is done at the end of 2023. What can you assure us from Matchroom on the zone and the future of Matchroom?
Yeah, look, I think we're in a great place. DAZN have invested heavily behind the sport for many years now, since 2018, I think the launch was, or late 2018, I believe the launch was, and they've really got behind it, and it's been clear to see. I think they're in it for the long term. Not just when you look at them as a business outside of just boxing, but as a global powerhouse in sports broadcasting. They've just, I believe, announced an extension of a deal in the Serie A in Italy, a multi-year extension there. Look, the DAZN are, like I say, a powerhouse within sports broadcasting. We made a big jump, obviously, in the UK to move from Sky, and we believe in the platform. We believe in the long-term vision of DAZN. They're going from strength to strength, and Again, I don't work for them, so I can't answer every question. I'm not answering questions on their behalf, but that everything they do and everything they want to build towards is mega rights. They're obviously always looking at new opportunities, new territories as well. But yeah, we're in a great place. I never think it's good for people to leave the sport of boxing, being honest. But at the same time, when there's new competition consistently investing into the sport, it makes it harder and harder. So it was a different world when it was HBO and just Showtime really being the key players in US boxing. When another party then comes into that, being Dazn, and there's been others that have come and they've gone away, but it's hard to compete, and businesses change their business plans and they change the route and direction they want to go in. But I'm very confident with where we sit and what the future holds, and Dazon's ambition in the sport.
Frank, I don't want to say that Matchroom doesn't work with Golden Boy, because I'm sure there's plenty of fighters that have, been on each other's shows, but the fights that the fans want from Matchroom and Golden Boy haven't been able to manifest. What can you tell us about Jaime Munguia and his reluctancy to fight any of your fighters throughout the years? He didn't want to fight Andre when you had him, and it seems like we can't get the Berlanga fight over the hill. Or can you tell us something new about Berlanga and Munguia?
Look, I think we've always worked well with Golden Boy. We have not always have Oscar and Eddie had the best relationship, maybe publicly, but I think we've always worked very well. We've always done good business in the past. I'm speaking to Eric Gomez a lot of the minute around a potential fight for Munguia and one of our guys in John Ryder, possibly. That's a conversation that's ongoing. And I think the Munguia-Berlanga fight can happen. I think that's a fight we would love to look at making. I think they'll both look at what other fights are there first. Like I say, Munguia potentially against Ryder, and we're discussing with Berlanga currently. But I definitely think that's a fight that we could potentially see in 2024. And look, DAZN want us to work together as well. In terms of delivering where we can deliver the best potential fights. They want us to work together. We've got some great fights coming up. There's a lot of great fights to be made. You've obviously got Haney Prograis, and the winner of that could potentially fight, Ryan Garcia as well. That's a massive fight that can be made. So let's see. But talks are positive and moving in the right direction, and I think you'll see great fights, not just between us and Golden Boy, but all promoters as well, which is only positive for the sport.
In terms of positioning,
Frank,
let me just get this follow-up. In terms of positioning, obviously the Ryder fight is commercially a bigger fight for Berlanga, and it gives him a common opponent with Canelo. So as a promoter, you're doing your job for Berlanga. But Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. beat Quigley.
he said Munguia. He said that fights for Munguia.
What,
They're in
Mosley
talks
Jr.?
for Munguia. No, Munguia Ryder. They're in talks for Munguia Ryder.
Yeah, Munguia Ryder possibly.
Ooh, that's damn. So Berlanga's on the code for real. So can we get Shane Mosley and Berlanga, because they got a common opponent with Quigley, and Shane holds some version of a WBA, maybe Continental or something.
Look, I think we're looking at options now and discussing with Edgar and his team around what the right fight is, and that's ongoing. I think I've heard rumours Shane Mosley Jr. is supposed to be fighting in December on the undercard of possibly Ryan Garcia, I believe, but I'm not too sure. I've heard a few people say that, but I think let's see. There's some big fights out there to be made.
Frank, you brought up the Haney Prograis fight, and I just wanted to ask you. We've seen, and I know you don't work for DAZN, but we've seen DAZN and ESPN Plus co-distributing a lot of pay-per-views recently, and I love that. Honestly, because you get promotion on multiple networks. I'm a big college football fan. I know you guys don't have university sports out there, but it's huge out there. There is certain games. I was watching a game that had 10 million viewers, and they were promoting, I forget which pay-per-view, but it was a DAZN and ESPN co-distributed. Is that something that is moving forward that Matchroom or DAZN and ESPN will be doing? Will we see that in the Haney and Prograis pay-per-view?
Look, I think they've built a great relationship between DAZN and ESPN. Like you say, they've cross promoted on those pay per views. I think it was the Jake Paul ones, wasn't it? And then the recent one with Tommy Fury, KSI, Logan Paul. And I think it's only beneficial for the sport. I think if more people can work together and extend the distribution of these events and the scale of these events and people promoting it. And look, fair play to ESPN as well, because they've heavily already publicised the Haney Prograis fight. Now, they've done a lot behind it already across their social media and covering the fight itself. So, but yeah, I think it's only positive moving forward that more of that happens, and I think we will see more and more of that. With people leaving the sport as well. I think extending the distribution of events is only beneficial. Look, DAZN have got one of the biggest platforms of boxing fans now in the US over the years that they built across multiple Canelo fights and other events as well. So they're in a hugely strong position when it comes to boxing in the United States. So I think it's sensible from all sides as well. When be that other pay-per-views as well. You see DAZN obviously covering on pay-per-view the Fury and Ngannou fight this weekend. Rest of the world outside of US, Canada, and the UK, they're obviously covering that. So people will make comments, but DAZN's position within the market, as a global boxing provider, as well as everything else they do, they're in a very strong position.
Frank, what could you tell us about the
go ahead,
pay-per-view
Ness.
price that hasn't been announced yet?
In terms of for Haney Prograis?
Yes.
Now that will be something for DAZN to announce in due course. So as soon as they do, we'll be able to tell you more.
What could you tell us about that fight being on pay-per-view? I mean, your partner Eddie Hearn just came out on Boxing Scene, I want to say a day ago, maybe two. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, his headline is, the pay curve needs to be changed. Like, fighters can't keep getting paid what they're paying and not living up to what, to the amount of money that they're making. So why is, and DAZN started off saying pay-per-view was dead. Why is Haney Prograis on pay-per-view?
Look, I think, as I said, business plans change as times develop. Obviously, when you're competing against other broadcasters that are running pay-per-views and multiple pay-per-views, look at Showtime. Have got, I don't know, 3 or 4 pay-per-views within a 4-month period. They would have had something like that. I think you have to look at the business economics of how you run it. Look, I think here you've got the undisputed 135-pound champion against Regis Prograis, who arguably many believe is the best in the 140 division. It's a massive fight for boxing. We've seen that with the ticket sales in San Francisco. And I think, it's going to do decent numbers. I think I agree with what Eddie's saying around the best need to fight the best and the money. Look, I think when it's the best fighting the best, you can understand. I think the problem we've had for too long in boxing is the best in warm-up fights. And that's not blaming it. That's all promoters have done that. And that's led by all promoters, all new broadcasters, etc. But I think when it becomes the best fighting, then we have to look at the best ways of delivering those fights, and pay-per-view is sometimes needed, but it's only going to be for the biggest and best fights out there.
Now, that fight did over 5,000 on the pre-sale. I've spoke to Devin. It's done over 10,000. We tried to book a courtside suite, and they were all sold out. They only had like 2 suites up top available. Did Matchroom at least expect this big of a turnout? This is the first time Devin has gone to the Bay as a professional. He hasn't fought there since an amateur. Did you guys know it would be this big of an event?
Yeah, look, like you say, well over 10,000 tickets sold, which, especially for US boxing is huge. But it just shows when you put the best in against the best, people want to come. People want to come out and see it. I think, did we expect it to go as quickly as it has? Maybe not. In reality, San Francisco is a market where there hasn't been boxing for a long, long time. I remember when we we had Paul Smith for Andre Ward in Oakland many years ago. And it was a tough, it was a tough sell back then, I remember. It wasn't our show, but, it was a tough sell. So to see so many people coming out for this fight is great to see. And it does show, taking fights to new markets is going to be beneficial rather than just going to the same old places week in, week out. Look, I think it's surprised us a little bit, but at the same time, it's a great fight. And we've priced it the right way, I think, and it means people are going to come out. So I think we're going to have a sold out house in there come December 9th.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the prices. I wanted to touch on that, but really quick, what does it say about Matchroom Boxing? First ever to host a combat sports event, no MMA or boxing event has ever graced the Chase Center. So, what does that say about Matchroom Boxing just on that international level?
Yeah, look, we love going to these venues. Chase Center's an unbelievable venue. It's a special place, and we've been lucky enough to do shows all around the world in some of the best arenas, stadiums. So to add that on there, be the first people to take it there, and I'm sure a lot of people will follow now because they'll see that there's a market there. I'm sure there's many more places across the US that we need to look at and deliver events which are sort of starved of combat sports.
Speaking of US,
Now,
Frank, can you
I just
tell
want to
us?
touch on the pricing. That's because he brought up the pricing really quick. Just I saw it, the ringside 1,500. Most of those are pretty much all gone. And you have tickets as cheap as $40 up top. I saw that you guys had to open more seats as tickets were selling very quickly. You know, the decision on making it both affordable but also having that VIP and having those tickets. What can you say about that? Because I was honestly surprised when I saw the $40 tickets, $35, I think.
The key is we've got to make these events accessible for everybody. And it's always been the way. The VIP, the ringside tickets are always expensive, but we have to make sure there's ability there for people to come out and see the events. It's the only way we're going to grow the sport. It's the only way we're going to grow boxing. And that's something that's pushed across all of our events, not just this one, but every show we do. So yeah, I think it's important. I think it's been priced very well, and it's good to see, and we're seeing the return for it. I'd rather have a sold out house priced at a good level rather than 7,000 people in there paying over the odds, and you hit the same number. And so many
No,
people try and
definitely.
do that.
I remember Mayweather McGregor here in Vegas. The tickets were so expensive that it was such a successful gate. I think they did like 50 million at the gate, but 4,000 tickets went unsold because they were just so expensive.
I know, but that's look, and I think that sort of restricts the growth as well. Like I say, not being able to have new audience and new fan base because you outprice yourself.
Frank, I want my co-host to remind me to go back to asking you about US Dazn subscribers. How many? Because I know it's 15 million for all 225 territories, but how many in America? But I also wanted to remember to say, don't you have a reality series coming out? Is that
I
wrong?
think no, I mean there is talk. We are in talks at the minute around a potential Netflix style Drive to Survive. It's not about me. People think it's a reality series about Frank Smith. It's definitely not. Otherwise, it wouldn't get many viewers, and I think we'd run out of. We wouldn't get a second season if it was just about me. But it's about the business of boxing. It's about our business, our fighters, and the characters involved. And I think, look, you only have to look at what Drive to Survive has done for Formula One and the numbers that's generated and created, and it's taken the sport to a whole new level. So I think
Hell yeah.
anything like this is beneficial for the sport. So let's see where that falls out.
How'd that come about? I think that's huge. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I mean, that could help the sport because it made Danny, like my co-host now, is this
That's
huge
how I
F1
became a
fan.
Formula One fan. That's how I became watching Drive to Survive. And I follow your Instagram closely, man. You're it seems like every other race you're in the Paddock Club. So
No, look, I that's the same as me. I had no interest, but I didn't really follow it. I didn't know the characters. I didn't know the storylines, and I think it's what all sport needs. And we've seen it in other sports be a success. They've obviously got Full Swing in golf. They've got the behind the scenes programming around the which other ones is there now? There's the tennis as well.
the tennis,
Um,
but
yeah,
so is it the same people that
yes.
would that you would be that you would be working with? Because what they've done, I mean, I've even watched the tennis one and the golf one. Like,
Yeah,
it was things that I didn't have as much interest in, but Drive to Survive was on another level. And we've
yeah, no,
seen
it's
it
the
here
same.
in America. Like, we have now 3 races in America because of one TV show.
Yeah, 100%. So it's Box to Box, the production company who created Drive to Survive, and then all of these other sports they rolled out into. We've been in discussions with them for a while. Look, they've obviously got great relationships with Netflix because they've created some shows that delivered Netflix huge numbers. So yeah, look, I think it's beneficial for the sport, and if we can get it over the line, will be huge. I'll go back to your other question. I'm not again. I can't speak for DAZN. Everyone, all I can say is they're in a great place from a subscriber position. And like I say, probably in one of the best places in combat and fight sports, especially in the US, which is their focus right now for that platform.
Well, what about Matchroom? What could you tell us about Matchroom? Because I'm going to be honest, I'm not a happy DAZN customer. I feel like I don't get enough boxing as a person that lives in America. I get plenty of boxing from you, Matchroom, as international, but I barely get any American fighter I know. Like I literally have to be who I am to know, right? Like you got to be a degenerate, diehard boxing fan to know Oshaki Foster, and that's it on the schedule for us.
Yeah,
Devin
look,
Haney
I
and
I
think
mean,
Regis. Devin Haney
no,
and
we got
Regis is left for America.
no. We also have Pacheco next month, but
Pacheco, come on.
you got Diego Pacheco. Look, is a star we're building for the future. We believe he can rule that division. He's a special fighter, and he's young, but he's young. He's 23 years old.
Yeah,
And he
he's
still
not that
needs.
guy just yet. But I mean, for like American boxing fans, he's not drawing us in. Me,
Yeah,
yes, I'm a diehard. It's different.
yeah, look, you got Devin Haney, Regis Prograis. We're working on the Berlanga return as we've spoken about there. You got the huge fight between Jesse Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards, which I actually believe is probably one of the fights of the year. And again, I know that's a boxing fan, but at the same time, I think it extends beyond hardcore boxing fans. I do honestly believe that's one of the fights of the year, Jesse against Sonny. And look, we're continuously working on our plans now for the early part of next year, and we're in discussions now for the number of shows we're working on. And we understand we got to keep delivering. We got to keep delivering shows, and we got to build. At the same time, we got to build stars of tomorrow, which we're working hard to do.
But is there an like does match? I don't want to use the word care, but for lack of better words, do you guys really care about the U.S. market right now, or are you focused in other markets?
Yeah, look, we of course we care everything we do. Hence why we're pro Grey Haney. That was a fight we worked long and hard on to deliver. So 100% we care. We want to keep building. We've had a great few years. Obviously, Canelo has been a big part of that. But we want to keep building and build, like I say, the stars of tomorrow. We know the work we've got to do. And look, I think US boxing's been it's been a lot of competition within the market. But obviously, with Showtime, coming out, the potential fighters that would be maybe available there. There's some big fights to be made. So let's see.
And obviously, the biggest fight that we've been trying to get between DAZN and other parties is AJ and Wilder. There was so much talk that it was going to happen and it'll happen in December. And now only half of the fight has been announced, meaning they announced the undisputed fight, but the alleged undercard that we were excited about once again isn't there. What could you tell us there? Because we've been waiting 7 years now for this fight.
Yeah, look, I think we're as frustrated as you in terms of we wanted to make that fight. We wanted to make AJ Wilder. Everything that we were being told at the time was that that fight was going to happen. Hence why that's the messaging we put across. But we're as much fans as you are and everyone else is. So we're as disappointed that it's not happening. Look, we got the pressure now. We need to deliver a big fight for Anthony Joshua. I still believe the Deontay Wilder fight can happen. But it's just when it takes place now. And I know people have been waiting a long time, but like I say, I still believe it can happen. And like I say, we're as frustrated as anyone in terms of we wanted that to take place this December.
is that a fight that could only happen with Saudi money or something? Because like on outside looking in, it's big business for us. I mean, I know I'm willing to pay. It could be done in America and be American pay per view. It could be done in the UK and still be American pay per view. What's the actual holdup?
No, look, I think, look, we had discussions for a long time. It's been quite openly spoken about around the fight taking place in Saudi. Obviously, there's significant value to the fight taking place in Saudi. I still think there's opportunity, as you say, to do it in the US and UK as well. But we have to deliver the best possible, uh, financial position for the fighters. It's a big fight, and we have to make sure we can deliver for them. So that's the work we're going through now. So yeah, I'm not writing off that it doesn't take place anywhere else in the world at all.
I got a few more, and these are from the people now, and then we'll get you out of here. Do
Actually,
apologize.
before last one for me before you get to those Ness. We've talked a little bit on Formula One, and with you guys in Monaco next week, you guys have done the shows in Abu Dhabi. I'm curious, like, has there been talks of Matchroom maybe planning a show internationally, or whether it be in the UK, around a Formula One weekend? I think the relationships you guys have in Abu Dhabi, I've seen it right by the track. You guys, I feel like, could do a show there. Monaco, we see Top Rank is doing one here in Las Vegas with Shakur. Just wanted your thoughts, Frank, because AJ's even bought ownership into Alpine. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces, and I feel like it would make sense.
Yeah, look, we've had a lot of discussions over the years around potential. I think the key thing is when these, a lot of it's run by governments and the authorities in the relevant countries, and they bring these events there to deliver tourism is a key part of it. And I think when you bring back to back events, for example, a big boxing event we take somewhere is to drive additional tourism. When they've already got significant people in the market, any of these territories, wherever it is around the world, for the Formula One itself, they're sort of at capacity at that point, be it hotels, be it flights, everything for the scale of a Formula One event and the interest that generates globally. So it's definitely something we looked at, but it has to make sense for them. And sometimes to do two huge events on a weekend doesn't always work out, but something we'll for sure be looking at.
Frank, if PBC came to the zone, would that make it crowded for you in terms of dates?
Look, I don't. Again, that's a conversation I'm sure they would have with DAZN.
I mean, but
Um,
your Matchroom, you still need
yeah,
Saturdays. I mean, dates for Matchroom, not the
yeah,
zone.
but I think we've got our contracted position in terms of what we have to deliver for DAZN. That's in place. We're comfortable with that. And anything DAZN chose to do additional in boxing, just like they do with other promoters, would fit around all of their, not just us, by the way, it's us, whether it Golden Boy, whether it be MVP, whether it be Misfits, we all fit around a DAZN schedule and work towards it the best way possible. And look, anything that grows the DAZN platform and brings bigger fights and the best fights to DAZN is good, and that's the way I look at it.
Do you believe if PBC were on the zone, it would bring in subscribers?
Again, it's about delivering the best possible fights. And that's where the pressure is on all promoters to work together to deliver the best possible fights. Great fights, entertaining fights will deliver subscribers.
We haven't
Frank,
seen three major promoters on a big network since HBO. Can you see a world where DAZN has Golden Boy, Al Heyman, and Matchroom?
Anything's possible. Like I say, anything's possible. I think, it's about having the best possible quality events. So I believe anything's possible in the sport. I don't write anything off because you never know what's around the corner. It's an entertaining sport for that reason.
Danny, you've been trying to jump in?
yeah, Frank. Wasn't it Matchroom that promoted an American card in Miami Super Bowl weekend?
Yeah, we did. We did Super Bowl weekend at I can't remember it was one of the Super Bowl partners, and it was in a purpose built venue that was built for two concerts, and then we did a boxing show in there. It was actually Jake Paul's professional debut against Anderson Gibb on that show,
Yep.
as
I
well as
think Demetrius Andrade was part of that bill.
Correct.
I-
Yeah, so that was Super Bowl weekend.
I'm just saying, Cinco de Mayo weekend just happens to be Formula One weekend in Miami. I don't know, man. A Canelo fight out there. We've seen it done in a pandemic. I
Matchroom
could
doesn't
only
have
imagine.
Canelo anymore, champ.
Oh yeah, damn, that's right. But we've seen, they got
You
other
trying to
guys.
you just trying to poke me, just say.
You trying to take shots
Look,
at Frank?
I just feel that Matchroom does things like, for example, the Monaco show, right? Monaco, we all know Formula One is in Monaco is like the greatest thing, right? But your Monaco show, no disrespect, Frank, isn't like the big ticket seller. It's not like it's in a huge venue to begin with, so I feel like a small intimate show, I feel like would do the fighters maybe more good because they perhaps could get some exposure. I don't know. I don't know.
Look, our show in Monaco is an event we're hugely proud to get the opportunity to do. To do an event. Boxing in Monaco goes back, I think, 80, 90, maybe 100 years from the events they used to bring there. And to put an event on in the casino, it's a special place. Like one day it would be great for you guys to come
Absolutely.
out. It's an
I would love
unbelievable
to.
location. So we feel very privileged to be able to put an event on there. And look, we're lucky that we promote events year in, year out, all around the world in some of the most amazing places. But Monaco's a special one, just like the Monaco Grand Prix. The Monaco Formula One, is a special race in that calendar. It's the same for us with our boxing show.
Let me get to
Would
these people's
you
question, Danny.
last one, I
He
promise.
gonna run
Just
out of
because
time.
no, just because Monaco is a beautiful place. Julio Cesar Chavez had a title fight at the Monaco football stadium in like 1980, whatever. Beautiful casino again. I've always loved the Monaco fights, but could we see a bigger event? Perhaps in that stadium, or I know they're very limited on venues, but could we see? Do you think Matchroom would be willing to put on a bigger, more appealing name? Like I'm not saying an AJ, but just a bigger star in Monaco.
Look, I think the size of the venues, as you say, and Monaco itself is a small place. You're limited in terms of the amount of people. Obviously, F1 weekend's a crazy weekend there. I definitely think there's an opportunity to, but I think for obviously working with the casino and SBM, I think that's an important part of their schedule is to deliver that event for their for the casino guests. But I wouldn't write it off. I was out there a couple of weeks ago at some meetings, and they've obviously got the stadium there for the team, the Liga One football team they've got. So I wouldn't write anything off. They obviously deliver other major events with the tennis as well, which goes there every year, I think in April. So for sure, there's definitely opportunity to do bigger events there.
I got Ruin the 504. That's New Orleans. He says, what lessons were learned while attempting to establish Matchroom in the American market? Excuse me.
Look, it's a hugely competitive market, as we've said. I think we went out. I think over the last 5 or 6. Sorry, I didn't know if you were laughing. Over the
No,
last
no,
five.
I'm excited about the next
No,
question. I'm excited
over
about the next
the,
question.
over the last 5 or 6 years, we've delivered some amazing nights. One of the key ones for me being that Canelo Billy Joe Saunders nights at the Cowboy Stadium. Breaking records there with the ticket sales. But look, it hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of hard work. Like I say, a lot of competition. And I think, we came out very brash at the start. Maybe that wasn't the way to do it. Who knows? But I feel we're in a great position now, and I feel we've delivered some major nights and learnt a lot throughout the process.
So super excited for this next question because I totally forgot. Shout out to James Valdez from San Antonio, Texas, who says, have you ever heard the pre-sale pay-per-view buying idea from Nestor Gibbs? Let me break this idea down, Frank, because I don't understand why you guys haven't done this. You already got Matchroom.com. Let's start with a fight that's on Dazn. Berlanga versus Jaime Munguia. It's on Matchroom.com. My site is an extension of your site. It's just another page. It's Matchroom.com/the fight you want. Now, on the fightyouwant.com page, right? It's not just Berlanga versus Munguia. It can be Crawford versus Jaron Ennis. But you're establishing that in order to get these fights, we, the people, have to meet $150,000 pay-per-view threshold, hypothetically at the normal $80 price. Gives you, the promoter and the broadcaster, the data to know what the subscriber wants, the finances for the fight. Now you got $12 million for your guaranteed purses and even undercard. Now, it's no different than when I buy my Yeezys. I put my credit card info. Dazn won't charge me until the date of the pay-per-view. The way that I want to have it established is you got Berlanga-Munguia. It's a 90-day bubble. We, the people, have 90 days to show Matchroom and Dazn that we can come up with the $150,000 seed, threshold limit minimum for you to give us that fight. If we come up with that in that 90, in the fine print, you guarantee 90 days from that $150,000 pre-sale, you start to promote, meaning a total of 6 months for whatever fight we want. What do you see wrong with this idea?
I love it. I think you should send it to DAZN immediately.
I think you need to set up a meeting because people won't
I'm
take me serious.
I am a little lost, but we will run with it.
You're lost? What question do you have?
So really quick, Frank, pretty much he's saying, there's a fight we want, you put it on the website, hypothetically it would have to be a pay-per-view fight, right? So, we're buying the pay-per-view ahead of time, guaranteeing the network and the promoter we want the fight. And he's saying that there would have to be a minimum to let the promoter and network know, okay, we've hit this minimum. I
think that minimum is 150,000 pay-per-view buys. I think that's very low. We've seen worse fights, do 150, but it's still $12 million. Like Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade are not getting paid $6 million apiece. Like $12 million is a lot of money for a lot of fights. No, you can't do a Canelo with 150,000 pay-per-view threshold, but I feel like that idea works to give you, the promoters and the networks, the data to know what we want. Because again, it won't just be that fight. It could be any fight. It could be Canelo Berlanga. How much do we want it? And then in between fights, like you're gonna have a Shocky Saturday.
Nuts. I'm sure Frank has a million questions.
Just
let him go.
One last thing.
I feel like you're confusing him now. Just let him ask his question.
I think you should put a business plan together and we'll share it with them. Send it over to me.
All right. I'm not good at that, but I'll see if one of my subscribers helps me. All right, moving on to the questions. The last questions we got. Numb Antics. Frank, hope all is well. Is there a plan in 2024 to bring more Matchroom shows to the U.S.? It's getting difficult to justify $225 a year subscription we are paying for DAZN given the decline of marquee U.S. non-pay-per-view fights. I went to Garcia versus Vargas show in Dallas, and it was awesome. It was an awesome time. Looking forward to more events. Thank you. So basically, more. They want to know when we get more Matchroom USA.
Yeah, look, we're under constant pressure from DAZN to deliver great nights, within the constructs of our deal. So, we're pushing hard now to work through the number of shows for next year, as well as obviously their other partnerships within the sport. So, I think we understand what people want, and the key for us is to deliver the best possible fights. We've been very vocal recently over the last couple of weeks around, real fights. And I think people taking proper fights rather than warm-up fights. And if we can, the key for us is to deliver value for the subscribers, and that's what DAZN consistently push us for. So, we're always looking at the number of shows and how we can deliver the best possible events within our budget, and maybe that's more shows than we've done previously.
Flacco 38, Frank.
Oh, go ahead, Ness.
Thank you and Eddie for bringing fights to North California with the Haney fight. Does Matchroom have any fighters signed that maybe you guys haven't already announced?
Not right now. Look, we went on a big signing run of some of a number of names and sort of extension of deals sort of throughout the summer. One fighter I'm very excited about that's going to move very quickly is Andy Cruz. Look, we need to build him in the right way. We need to market him in the right way. But he's a fighter that I think has got huge future. We saw his debut in June. He'll be back out on the undercard, a bit longer than we wanted, but back out on the undercard of Haney Prograis. And I think he's got a massive future. So he's one of our newest signings, I'd say, that we're excited about and got some big plans for.
The next one is from Trav FDY in Texas. He says, "Hey Frank, anything new on Matchroom having a new in-house VADA testing agency? Because I know you guys were working with someone and now you're not, right?"
Well, look, the key for us is we've been, ensuring there's significant testing and increased testing across all of our events. These things take time and a lot of work, and we're working through that as a team now. You would have seen as well, the UFC recently just announced their new partnership with Drug-Free Sport, who have taken over the drug testing from USADA, I believe, for the UFC. But like I say, this takes a lot of work, and it's not something we can just rush out. But the key for us has been ensuring that on all the shows, the main events, we got significant additional testing over and above what the relevant local commission would have. But it's a constant conversation that's ongoing now.
I got Rod, I believe in Phoenix, says, "Are there any other USA fighters that Matchroom plans to sign? What are the possibilities of Wilder versus AJ happening in 2024? You've already answered the Wilder AJ part. If you want to give a crack at the first part.
Sorry, say that again. I missed the first part.
Any American fighters
that Matchroom
is looking to
to
sign?
We're looking at a few. I'm not going to give it away. You got the wrong man from our company on to give clues away. I'm the locked. You don't get any secrets from me. I like to get things done. I'm less of the promoter, I suppose. I'm more the paperwork man in the background, and I like a spreadsheet. So when they're ready to come out, we'll tell you.
Frank, I wanted to ask really quick if you could give me like the 2-minute story on how you got started in boxing. I'm sure you've talked about it,
story. It's so inspirational.
The
it's
guy,
crazy.
My co-host here, the gentleman to my left, has told me, "Hey, next time you talk to Frank, you need to ask him for his story." And we've been talking to you, and it just hit me. So,
well, I met Eddie
because
when
you're very young, and very, very high up. So
Yeah. Well, I've been here nearly 16 years now at Matchroom. I met Eddie when I think it was 14 years old. Did some work experience. I pestered him for a job, basically. I got his email address when I was 14, and I pestered him for a job for 2 years. I used to work part-time work experience at some of our poker events we used to be involved in, and then started at 16 years old, full-time in the business. But we were very much focused on other sports back then. It was a lot more, we had the football team, Leyton Orient, we had the snooker, we had the darts, we had 9-ball pool, a number of different sports. We promote close to 400 events a year all around the world across 10 different sports. So I was just running around doing anything they told me to do, basically. And then slowly, as we got back into boxing, after around 3 years of me being there, so about 12 years ago, we got heavily back involved in boxing. Obviously, prize fighter was something we were doing a lot of. And then, started working with Cole Froch, Darren Barker, Kell Brook, all of these names. And then I just worked my way through the business. But I'm very good at making tea and coffee, so I'll make you a cuppa next time you're over.
Frank, I want to also have you give the story of your significant other, and I don't want them to leave that out the reality show. I think that's super important, man. I mean, because just think about how small the boxing world is, that a kid gets a start with Eddie as an errand boy, and then you're like the CEO of the company, and you fucking marry a woman that is pedigree in boxing. I mean, your story's insane. I hope you believe me when I say it's super inspiring to me, and I'm sure to others. But I don't know if that's too personal for you. But at least if it is for this interview, make sure it comes out on the documentary.
No, I get in trouble for mentioning her too much. She'll give me a punch.
Really?
But, yeah, she doesn't like the limelight. She's not into it.
Wow.
So she's been involved in boxing a lot longer than I have. So she's a much bigger boxing fan than me, which is quite helpful when you do 40 boxing events a year. So that keeps us going.
Oh, so the last question, and you can absolutely leave. Jonathan Sims wants to know if you buy a pay-per-view, can would that information of who we're buying it for be useful to the Dazn and to Matchroom?
In terms of what fighter?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
everything. I think all of this is important information. I think the reality is that for 95% of fighters that have been involved, 95% of fighters that have been involved in pay-per-view fights, it's about the fight itself, not the individual. I think you have the certain standout stars, the likes of Canelo, the likes of Anthony Joshua, who can sell a pay-per-view on their own back. But I think the majority of the time with pay-per-view fights, it's about the right fights. And not every fighter is a pay-per-view fighter in every fight. I think there's only 2 or 3. But yeah, I think it's always interesting.
Frank, that's everything. We do appreciate you. Thank you for the time, and I hope it wasn't too long and you had fun.
Good to chat, guys. Appreciate the time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. There you have it, ladies
Frank.
and gents. Frank Smith. That was great. We got everything we needed.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.